Hello. So, I am sitting down to get ready for work, and I thought I would just do a get ready with me. I'm going to be using the products that I've chosen for my shop, my stash this week. So, I'll tell you about the primers, the foundation, the eyeshadow palette, and the eyeshadow palette that I choose is usually the main focus of my shop, my stashes. So, I am just going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to start with my Makeup by Mario Eye Prep and Set, and it is in the shade Deep. And I'm going to be using the Pat McGrath concealer brush. Um, when I bought it, I didn't realize how tiny it is. So I don't really like it for concealer, but I do like it for putting on my eye primer. So yeah, that was something that I found out once it was already in my hand. Is there anything else going on with me? Not really. So I've got the eye primer down and I am just working it into my eye. I'm not going to set the primer. I don't typically, sometimes I will, but I don't feel like it. Now, I may regret those words because allergies are making my eyes really water right now. And the weird thing is that it's only this eye. It like takes turns. One day it'll be this eye, the other day it'll be this eye. And then it just completely ruins my eye look. So we'll see what happens. So we've got the eye primer down, and if you've watched me before, you know that I tend to do my eye makeup first and then all of the base complexion products after. So keeping with that tradition, today or this week, I decided that I would be using the Sydney Grace Enduring Love palette. This is in the deep version. So if you didn't know, Sydney Grace has a couple of palettes, and even their most recent one with Tim Talia, they have different versions. They have a light version and they have a deep version, which I really appreciate. I think they have it in most of their palettes now where they have a light and a deep version, except for Autumn something body or other. I don't have that one. But I think that was like maybe their first palette. I don't think there's a deep and light version for that one, but all of the rest after, I'm pretty sure have deep and light versions. So for the Enduring Love palette, the differences are that the mattes are deeper in the deep palette, and the shade Romeo is also a bit deeper. So if you have this palette and you want the light version, the only differences will be that the mattes are going to be different. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Just have to make sure that wasn't a patient. The mattes are going to be different, and the shade Romeo will be different. Now, so far this week, I've used a good amount of the shades, honestly. So I know I have used Romeo. I used that one, but I also used Elizabeth and Deanna. I think I also used Robert. I also used Boaz, which is this black. I might have used Devotion. I can't remember, but I know I did use Juliet. So I used Romeo and Juliet. Okay. So I'm feeling drawn to either Albert or Ruth. I mean, like, they're different. You know what? I'm gonna use both. Here we go. The other thing this week is that I decided that I wanted to just focus on my natural hair brushes. So I will be using Rephr brushes and Wayne Goss brushes. Now the Sonia G brushes, just new set, Fusion I believe they're called, just released yesterday, and I think they sold out in like 15 minutes. Let me tell you something. What had happened was one of my patients canceled right at the time where the brushes were dropping. So, as soon as that clock struck, I was on Beautylish on my phone and trying to get the brushes. I managed to get the 3 that I wanted, which were or are the classic base, the jumbo base, and the jumbo concealer. I realized that those were areas in my collection that I don't necessarily have a go-to natural hair brush, so I'm really excited about that. I felt really bad that not everybody could get the brushes that they wanted. Typically, I'm one of those people, but somehow the stars aligned, somebody needed to cancel, and yeah, I mean, in all honesty, full disclosure, my patients, my clients know how much I love makeup. So if I would have been like, you know what, can we just hold on a second? I need to get these. They would have been fine. Everybody would have been. They'd been like trying to help me get them. So I'm really glad that I got them, and I think they should be here tomorrow. So I will definitely like review or whatever's with them this weekend. So I'm just going to, because I don't set my eye primer, if I get to talking, oftentimes it will crease a little bit, and all I do is just go back in and buff it out. Okay, so let's see what brush I'm going to use. I'm looking between my Wayne Goss brushes, which are over here, and my Rephr brushes, which are over here. Now, I have been using these brushes all week, so they do have product on them, or like the remnants of product. The thing is, with natural hair brushes, you don't want to wash them too frequently because that just like dries out the brushes and other things that I can't recall. But they're definitely not like your synthetic brushes where you want to like really be persistent and consistent in washing them. The natural hair ones, not so much. I mean, you want to wash your brushes, but you don't need to be deep cleaning them like every single day. What I typically do is I take a microfiber towel, and if there is product on the brush, I will just wipe it off, and that's what you want to do. So I am going to be using Albert and Ruth, although I should be using Boaz because it's Boaz and Ruth in the Bible, but anyway. So Albert is this shade here, and I think I'm going to go in first with this one. It's like a pewter shade. I don't typically experience much fallout with Sydney Grace, but since this is a shimmer, I'm going to tap just a bit to shake off any like loose pigment, and I am going to go ahead and press it into my eye. So I've got Albert down, and I am going to go in with my microfiber towel and just wipe this brush off. And I didn't say what brush it is. It is the Rephr brush number 2. I really like it because it's great for packing on color. So I've got Albert on, and I'm gonna go in with Ruth. Let's see what that does. Tapping it off, no real fallout. I think I'm going to start that here, sort of towards the middle, and place it there, going into the outer parts of my eye. So next, what I want to do is to pick a color that can sort of buff out the harsh lines that we have going on. So what I like so far is the colors. Like, I like this sort of silvery blue, but then they're just kind of mixing together and being super cute. So I want to find a shade that is probably closer to my skin tone, or sort of in the peachy, brownie kind of arena. So if you saw my review of the Wayne Goss Edit Collection, thank you. But after that, I did wash the brushes. Again, like I mentioned, hopefully before, you don't need to wash your natural hair brushes all the time. But I wanted to wash them and see how they dry, because oftentimes with natural hair brushes, even synthetic brushes, they'll kind of like splay a little bit, or they'll like puff out. And so I wanted to see whether these would keep their shape, because the Edit collection, most of the brushes except for one have this sort of tapered brush head. And I washed and dried them. I used brush guards, and I want to say for the most part they stayed pretty good. There's like a little bit of splaying, but it's not bad at all. So yeah, it does hold up. The brushes do hold their shape after you wash them. Ooh, what color do I want to use? I want to try to use a color that I have not yet, and I believe that I haven't necessarily gone into Cherish too much, so I'm going to go ahead and with that shade on a Wayne Goss Edit Collection number 4. And let's see what that does. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and wipe that brush off and grab another brush, because I do want to put something in the outer corner. So here is the Wayne Goss Edit Collection number 5. I think this is becoming a favorite. And I think I am going to mix Robert and Boaz. I mean, I know they're different stories and different people, but they like each other. They're next to each other. They'll be fine. Tapping that off a bit, and I'm going in the very outer corner. I'll be back in a second with the other eye done also. Now that we have the eyes done, for now, I'm going to go ahead and start in on my face complexion products. So first, I am taking the Milk Hydro Grip Primer, and this has been the primer that I've been focusing on and intend on panning completely before I move on to another primer. Now, the thing with the Hydro Grip is that you do have to let it sit a bit so that it can get a little tacky, because the grip part of it needs to kick in, right? The ones that are similar to this one that I'm aware of, well, at least one, is the e.l.f. Jelly Primer. And I have not tried it, but I've heard so many people say it's very similar to the Hydro Grip. So while I'm letting that go ahead and kind of sit in, I am going to do my brows. So nothing has changed with that. I am continuing to use my Revolution Pro brow pencil in dark brown. They're done, and they at least look like they should be at the same family reunion. So now my primer is pretty good to go. And this week I have decided to use the NARS Naturally Radiant foundation. Usually I use the soft matte NARS foundation, but here's my thought process. When I use the NARS soft matte foundation, I'm really 100% certain it's going to last all day. It's going to give me a matte finish. Not much of my oils are going to break through until later in the day. But when I use the Naturally Radiant, it's usually on days when my days are shorter. So when I have, when I end a little earlier in the day, I don't know how I put this together, but I did. So I feel like this stays really well. And then when the oils are starting to be aggressive, I'm usually ending my day. So I'm like, that's fine. The other day I did use the Naturally Radiant, and I would say around 3 o'clock, I looked at myself and I was like, whoa, girl, you're not only radiant, but you're greasy. So I went ahead and patted on some powder. And what I liked and what I noticed was that it didn't take the radiance away. It just took down a bunch of the oily shine. So I was like, oh, that's cool. But I'm going to go ahead and use that foundation today because I have a shorter day. How do you do that? Do you use certain foundations on certain days or when you're going somewhere versus like going somewhere else? Let me know. So I'm going in with a natural hair brush to put on my foundation. Not sure if I mentioned, but before I did everything, I had already put on I'd washed my face, put on my moisturizer, sunscreen, and everything before I started on my makeup. I just got a text message that annoyed me to no end. I'm trying to fix my face. But child, when I tell you, people be trying you. Whew, child. You know what? You know what? Let me get myself together because I am so irritated right now. So I'm gonna be right back, okay? Okay, got my concealer on. I'm not even gonna put on a fake smile, y'all. I'm irritated. Usually I go in with the BK Beauty 108 to blend out my concealer. I really like it. It's very soft, but dense enough to really blend the concealer out. And so I wanted to find a brush that I have that's natural and similar. And I think the closest match is the Rephr number 18. So I'm going to go ahead and use that. I'm also checking out my eye because, you know, the allergies, like my eye waters and like aggressively attacks the like inner corner. Like I don't understand. So I'm gonna go ahead and blend that out. So I'm taking my Too Faced Peach Perfect powder and caramelized peach, and I'm taking this Beauty Blender puff, and I am going to set my under eyes with this powder. I'm actually going to set all the places that I put concealer with this powder. I really like this puff. Ever since I bought it a while ago, I really like the way that I can like target and place powder where I want it. So I've got that done. Now I don't yet have like a fluffy brush that I can just use to brush off powder or buff things out. So I'm just gonna go in with my BK 102 and just buff everything together to also get off that any excess powder that we've got going on. Now I am going to go in with my blush and bronzer or contour. I decided to use the Fenty Matchsticks, so I am going to be using the shade Espresso. I'm going right under my cheekbone here. To blend that out, I am going to use the Wayne Goss Edit Collection number 2. Now, the Wayne Goss number 2 in the Edit collection is also the brush that I've come to like to use for blush. So I am using my microfiber towel to wipe off some of the excess contour that I just used. And I am going to go into my Milani Cheek Kiss Cream Blush in Nude Kiss. And here it is. I like this blush because it gives me more of a natural flush. So I don't want a super bright blush to take away from the eye look. So I'm buffing that out right on my cheekbone, a bit higher than where I put the contour, the espresso color. Sticking with the Fenty products, I am going to go in with the shade Cinnamon as a highlighter. You can see it here. Just going to take that on my finger. So I blended that highlighter out with the Rephr number 4. There it is. And let's see. I will do a bit of some eyeliner and mascara, and I will be right back. Okay, so I have added some liner, which is the Urban Decay Perversion liner. And I also used the Urban Decay Perversion mascara. After that, I went in and just smudged a bit of the black color in the Enduring Love palette, Boaz, on the under eye, the lower lash line. And now I'm going to go in with my Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish Powder and just set everything. I'm taking a BK Beauty 102 brush, tapping into the powder, and just setting it. So that is everything I have been using this week to shop my stash. Just to go over everything, I used the Milk Hydro Grip Primer. I then went over that with my NARS Natural Radiant Longwear Foundation. I paired the foundation with the Radiant Creamy Concealer from NARS. The powder I use to set my concealer is the Too Faced Peach Perfect Powder in Caramelized Peach. The blush I use is the Milani Cream Blush in Nude Kiss. The contour I use is the Matchstick from Fenty in the shade Espresso. I also used the Matchstick in Cinnamon as a highlighter. For my eyes, I did my usual Makeup by Mario Eye Prep and Set for primer, and then I went in with the Sydney Grace Enduring Love palette in the deep version. For lips, I used the Urban Decay Vice lipstick in 1993. Here is that shade. It's just like a brown nude. And then, of course, I set everything with my Airbrush Flawless Finish Powder from Charlotte Tilbury. And I used my Makeup Revolution or Revolution Pro brow pencil. I think that's it. So hopefully this was helpful, and I will see you next time.